When I was a little kid, about 5 or 6, I decided I was going to marry a girl because a kid in my class told me boys have cooties. With time, I realized that I'd never met two girls, or two boys for that matter, that were married. I didn't understand why, but I figured I'd have to marry a guy since that's what everyone else did, and despite the cooties concerns, I was okay with that. I didn't grow up in a super religious family. My dad definitely held a lot of similar beliefs to people in religious households, but it was not preached to me directly. Somehow, despite never going to church and not knowing that anyone else felt like I did, I convinced myself I was going to hell for feelings I couldn't control and didn't even intend to act on. In every movie I'd seen, even for small children, the protagonist ended up in a heterosexual relationship by the end of the movie. Boys and girls sat separately in the cafeteria in my school. Boys and girls could never just be friends, was a sentiment I heard constantly. I wondered, since I was attracted to boys and girls, if I was even allowed to have friends at all. I just wanted all the feelings to go away. The first time I heard the word gay, it was used as an insult. A boy in my class was shaking his butt at another boy and joking around. His friend told him it was gay. The teacher shut down that conversation quickly, and I asked a couple people what gay meant, but none of them told me. I assumed it was just an insult for feminine guys, which in my defense is how 5th graders tended to use it at the time. I think the first time I heard the word lesbian was around the same age, approximately 11. Me and a friend had these BFF necklaces that latched together with a magnet to form a heart. But to do this while wearing them, our faces had to get kind of close together. A kid nearby muttered something under his breath. My friend asked him what it meant. I'm still not exactly sure what he said, as I didn't hear it, thanks ADHD. But with the context and with my gut, I have a feeling that's what it was. I learned for certain what gay meant when I was 14, and that being gay was when girls liked girls instead of guys, or guys liked guys instead of girls. I remember a sinking feeling in my stomach. But I reassured myself that I liked guys, and that made it impossible for me to be gay. A few months later, I heard the word bisexual, and, I was like, oh, that's probably it, huh? I told myself that even if that was the case, I could just not date girls, and nobody would bother me about it. I avoided even talking to girls, lest somebody figure it out. I hated myself. Eventually, I found LGBT activism online. I learned and accepted, internally, that gay marriage was just as legitimate as heterosexual marriage, that sexuality isn't a choice, and that gay people deserve to be happy. All the typical 2012 rhetoric. I considered myself an ally, and separated my opinions on other LGBT people from my fears about myself. Which is partially why I think allies should be welcomed into LGBT spaces, but that's another story. One day, the internalized fear and suppressed feelings got to me. I came out to myself, and decided to talk to a couple people close to me about it, so I would maybe hate myself a bit less. My mom took it very well. She was kind and supportive, which I expected since we shared the same beliefs on the LGBT community. I expected the next conversation I had about it to go the same. I think my expectation of safety made it hurt a lot more when it didn't. It's not like they told me I was going to hell. They didn't yell at me, preach about the Bible. When I said I was bi, they ignored me. I was already shaky and jittery with nerves. My stomach dropped. I prompted, asking if they were going to say anything. They told me that all girls think they're bisexual, and implied the reason behind this conversation, and the reason I got upset at their non-response, is because I was only looking for attention. To many, this conversation could be easily brushed off. For me, it launched me into an existential crisis, and down a rabbit hole of toxic opinions on the internet, ranging from poorly done studies on female sexuality to lesbian think pieces on why all bi girls end up straight, or gay men arguing that bi men were just gay and in denial. I could find little evidence outside of the bisexual community that our identity was real. So now, not only did I have internalized fear and self-hatred surrounding my feelings for girls, I was gaslit by the entire internet into believing that those feelings weren't real and I was getting upset over nothing. that they were only symptomatic of some sick desire to be oppressed, as opposed to having genuine gay attraction. Now it's time to talk about Glee. I think it's honestly a testament to how much of a joke my life is that Glee plays the role of a major antagonist. You'd think God could have at least put the live-action Death Note or another show that's actually good in that role, but no, it's Glee. For those who don't know, Glee is a teen comedy about a high school choir. At the time, it was praised for being LGBT-friendly, but boy oh boy was it obvious that the writing team had no idea what they were doing. I should say, rather, that being LGBT-friendly, that some gay men might see themselves in the cast, but that's it. Despite the show trying to claim otherwise. And that's not even mentioning their questionable attempt at being inclusive of the disability community, or trans people specifically. As much as some people might argue otherwise, representation in fictional media matters, and who that media is written by matters. And if you haven't come to that conclusion so far in this video, hopefully that will set the record straight for you. When I was about 15 or 16, my mom decided to binge watch Glee on Netflix. I decided to join her because why not? And to be honest, watching back old clips of it on YouTube while writing this, there is some entertainment value in how absurd it was at times. But the messages it sent me about my sexuality as a young teen still affect me to this day. At the time I watched it, I'd seen a sparse representation of gay people in media whatsoever, and no bisexuals at all. It wasn't lost on me that one of the big arguments for why gay people shouldn't be killed or arrested is because they have no other choice in partners, which left me to wonder where I fit into that. Did I deserve hate because I experienced gay attraction, but I could technically just suppress it, which I don't think is healthy, and only date men? Getting back to the Trainwreck show, time and time again, characters in Glee insisted that bi men are just gay men that are confused, and bi women are somehow at the same time both lesbians in denial and not gay enough for relationships with them to count. That no matter what, their love was somehow broken and incomplete. And it's not just characters that express this, but the plot. It wasn't until many seasons into the show that the writers got backlash for this and made a character legitimately bisexual with minimal biphobia from the surrounding cast. But by this point, for me at least, the damage was already done. I linked a couple example clips from other people in the description for those who are curious, but I don't hate myself enough to rewatch Glee for the sake of a YouTube video. I know how I feel, but it's hard to make sense of it when everyone I see that's like me is always put down or dismissed or explained away by someone who's projecting their own insecurities onto them, instead of actually asking bi people or having them on the writing team. And this isn't the only bad representation I've seen of bi people, just a microcosm of sorts. A perfectly fleshed out example of all the things not to do. The first time I kissed a girl, I was 22. I was shaking, my heart was pounding. I had a massive crush on her, so that was definitely part of it, as was a fear of rejection I think everyone feels before revealing they have feelings for someone. She kept asking if I was okay and telling me I didn't have to be anxious, which, funnily enough, prompted me to realize that my extreme anxiety around crushes is fueled by my own self-doubt and self-hatred more so than typical butterflies and nerves around rejection. A day or two later, I was bombarded by a fear that I was somehow just confused, that I was going to end up hurting her, and it was selfish of me to think my feelings could be real. It's almost funny looking back on it. But the only thing that prompted me to talk to her about it was a realization that the main thing I wanted in those moments was for her to hold me and tell me it was okay, which I realized was maybe kind of gay. And she was lovely about it, which I anticipated since I knew her pretty well by that point. But at the same time, I remembered the second person I came out to, and how I thought they would be supportive and validating when they weren't. And all the lesbian articles I read about how they accept bisexuality in women, but still weren't entirely convinced that they aren't just lesbians in denial. Or all the lesbians that straight up said they would never date a bi woman at all, lest she turn out straight or cheat on them. And I still haven't fully come to terms with this, which is partially why I'm making this video, because I think it'd be good for me to talk about it. I still get shaky and worried I'm a fraud when I look in the comment section of a video on bisexuality or try to talk about this. It feels so stupid that it affects me this much, but here I am, feeling it anyway. I share all of this to try and explain what it can be like to grow up with this sort of messaging in your face 24/7. If someone you care about is bi or thinks they might be, please try to meet them with kindness and support. Just because you don't have the exact same experience doesn't mean they aren't hurting. And even if they aren't hurting, that doesn't mean that their feelings aren't real, or that you know them better than they do. You aren't the one living in their brain or their body, so you don't get a say in their identity. And yes, there are people who come out as bi only to realize that they're gay. But there are also people who come out as gay and then realize they're bi. There are people who flip-flop between identities all over the spectrum before they find one that fits. Human sexuality is really complicated. With kindness and compassion, even without your input, they'll figure it out. If anyone watching this is questioning their identity and doesn't want to mess up or claim to be something they're not, like I once did, I want to point out to you that if you click that little plus sign at the end of LGBT, you reveal this curious little Q. That stands for queer, yes, but it also stands for questioning. If you're confused or scared and you need resources, you belong here just as much as anyone else. Even if it turns out that you're straight or cisgender, or not the identity you originally thought, it's not the end of the world. Sexuality and gender are really complicated, especially when identities overlap or aren't talked about much. Folks on the ace spectrum or folks who are trans often have a lot of trouble with this stuff in particular. And if anyone tells you that you don't belong in the community, don't listen to them. A lot of people are scared that your existence could make them seem less valid to the outside, and instead of building you up to stand together, they knock you and others down. And to be honest, I don't even know if I blame them. It's hard out here to be different. And of course, not everyone who questions will come out of it realizing that they still identify within the community. But for me, there was this one dumb meme, probably from Tumblr, that said something along the lines of, "Kids, if you're Googling am I gay quiz, you're gay." And I think there is something to be said for trusting your gut, as hard as that can be. If you have a crush on someone, go out with them. If you want to wear a dress, wear a dress. If you want to hold hands with your friend and watch cartoons and not think about what that means, do that too. Oppression isn't a contest. Just because you could exclusively enter straight relationships doesn't mean that you have to. And that doesn't mean that you have it easier than anyone else or that you're making a choice. You don't get to choose who you fall for any more than anyone else. And if you're in a straight relationship or otherwise asked to prove it, you do not have to prove yourself to anyone, especially if what they're pressuring you to do is physical. That is never, ever, ever okay. That being said, personally I think it's really normal and okay to want to test run relationships or physical stuff if you feel like it could help you figure things out or feel more comfortable in your own skin. It doesn't make you promiscuous or greedy. Just like with gay people who are only attracted to one gender, sometimes coming out and then exploring can be what you need to do to heal. You don't have to be the gayest or pass the least or get called the most slurs for you to love yourself and be proud of who you are. You do belong, you are enough, and identity shouldn't be about oppression anyway. It should be about love. Love from friends, partners, and the one I think is most important, love for yourself. A quick disclaimer, I know that Glee legitimately helped a lot of people, and I mostly put it down in this video for comedic effect, and because it was hurtful to me, personally. There's obviously nothing wrong with liking the show, or people who do. I also realized when clip hunting for this video that the actress who played Santana has passed away. And although I still think my points are relevant and important, I want to send my condolences to those affected by her passing.